I do love meat.
Nice.
Steak is probably right up there as one of my most favorite meals to go out for and to enjoy with family and friends. And all my boys are big steak lovers as well. I do like to have a high protein diet. Muscles, I would say that I've probably been influenced by 80s and 90s movies of action heroes, quite muscular. And I always loved the when they'd cut to the gym workout scenes when the hero is building up to the big fight or the
Yeah.
soldiers going through the assault course. And so ever since I was a kid, I've been into exercise. And so health and fitness is a high value of mine.
If you had to give just one simple tip to an entrepreneur who might be neglecting their body or feels like they're not where they want to be with their body, what would that one tip be to start with? Welcome to Longevity Masters. This is where male entrepreneurs take control of time and provide for their loved ones at the highest level. We're building the first biological time machine designed specifically for male entrepreneurs who want more years, more capacity, and more presence. Here, we don't chase hacks. We build structure. We measure what matters, and we lower your biological age through behavior, biology, and rhythm with our own unified turn back time age score. Our vision is simple: help 1,000 male entrepreneurs reclaim at least 10 years of biological time. Stronger body, clearer mind, more powerful life. Let's get to work. Hello and welcome to the Carnivore Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Grant Hutchby, and today, for today's interview, we are here with Tsen Wharton. I won't take Sen's fire away. I'll let him intro himself. So Sen, do you want to tell everyone who you are and what you're about?
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Grant. Pleasure to be here. Looking forward to our chat today. So I don't want to say too much or too little. So let's see, where do I start? I am a property entrepreneur. I've been investing in property for 19 years, and it took me, I would say, 8-9 years to be the overnight success and be able to leave the world of employment. But I managed to leave the corporate world age 33, and that is over 10 years ago now. And I have background across most property strategies. I've got a great service accommodation business. I have a business partner in Chris Dornan, and we also have a coaching and mastermind business called Devenir Plus. And the other things that people might be interested to know is that I am a devoted husband to Emma and dad to 3 awesome boys that I love very much. And very much like my sport and activity. And I know we're talking a little bit about maybe some exercise stuff today. So
Definitely.
I'm very much values driven and see the world of property entrepreneurship like a vehicle through which I can be challenged, strive for the goals I want to financially, but really live life based on my design, on my terms, and my family's. And that's why, I love being a property entrepreneur.
Excellent. You said 2 things there. One, which was it took you almost 10 years to be an overnight success. I love that. A lot of people think that, people are just successful overnight, which isn't the case. And this is what Carnivore Entrepreneur is all about, is living life on your terms. And I love that. I love that you said that, because, it's all I want to do is try and help people live life on their terms, because to me, that's what life is all about. Otherwise, you're living life on someone else's terms.
Correct.
Why would you want to do that? So my first question, I always ask this question to everyone. The Carnivore Entrepreneur Show is all about meat, muscles, mindset, and money. What do those things mean to you?
Good question. Well, I do love meat, and
Nice.
steak is probably right up there as one of my most favorite meals to go out for and to enjoy with family and friends. And all my boys are big steak lovers as well.
Nice.
So I see meat as an important part of my personal diet, family's diet. I do like to have a high protein diet. Muscles, I would say that I've probably been influenced by 80s and 90s movies of action heroes who were probably uh, quite muscular, and I always loved the when they'd cut to the gym workout scenes when the hero is building up to the big fight, or the
Yeah.
army soldiers going through the assault course. And so ever since I was a kid, I've been into exercise, and so health and fitness is a high value of mine. Mindset wise, I would say that it was about age 19 I started to get exposed to books related to mindset and personal development. And so it's now been a huge part of my life for more than half my life. And the mindset piece is, if I was going to probably borrow some words from Tony Robbins, it makes up about 80 or 90% of our success. So it is huge. So I'm very much,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, intentional about forming, creating, intentionally having the right mindset and being around people who have a growth and goal oriented mindset. And then money, yeah, just feeds naturally into this journey of growth that I've been on for a long time. It's not the be all and end all, but it is very much a great facilitator of, I guess, the reward for the hard work that can then be put into creating the lifestyle that I want to create for my family, the place we want to live, the home we want to create. I've got building
Yeah.
work that are going on right now to create a nice extension to our house. The,
Nice.
the holidays I want to enjoy, the education for my kids, and living life on our terms. So it's a key facilitator for creating that life, but it's not the only thing that I'm focused on. It's a, I guess, a key target, but it's very much a byproduct of all of the growth that goes on over time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Jim Rohn said, if you don't become a millionaire to be a millionaire,
Mm,
you become a millionaire to be the person that you need to be to become one.
yeah.
And that's the important thing
Yes.
is I I believe that money gives you that peace and actually supports having a healthy mind, because if you're constantly worried about money, then that's not good for your brain, because it's constantly focused or worried about where the next pay packet's going to come from. And that's where I think, having a healthy bank account, that's why the three pillars of the carnivore entrepreneur are healthy body, healthy mind, healthy bank account. And it's circular, because I truly believe that they all feed into each other in one way, shape, or form. And yeah, I do believe in what you said, 80 to 90% is in the mind, because everything starts with a thought. And that thought that you have can, ripple effect everywhere. And but the thing is if you don't get control of your bank account and your body, that can have a real impact on your mind as well. Notice when you go to the gym how your mindset is different after you've had a gym session than before it. So yeah, really
Nice.
resonate with all of that. Thank you for going through that with us. We'll get into it. We'll have a couple warm up questions. So you were on the board before, so we're both on the board together, just for the audience, so they know. Sen and I, we're both on Property Entrepreneurs, Daniel Hill, the board, and that's how we met. You were on the board before I joined. What made you? Because I know what made me do it, but what made you step up to that level of mastermind? Because it is a high level.
Yeah, I was proactively searching for a mastermind group to join in the UK, in person, not virtual, not having to travel to the States or anything, but something in the UK where I could be around the caliber of people who very much shared a similar set of values and intentional growth towards goals in each area of life. uh, as we said before, it's not just about the money. It's about
Yeah,
creating the kind of business and investments that fit around the life you want to have, and the family and the health. And it was through listening to, so I'd known Dan since 2014.
oh
Um,
wow, okay.
yeah. And I kind of wish that I'd started to get involved in some of his early education and courses that he was sharing. But after having invested in some of the deals that his portfolio building company had been able to provide, I really have to say this is a big shout out to Your Property Network, YPN. I wouldn't have found Dan had it not been for Your Property Network. So this
Right.
goes back to like 20. I've been reading YPN since 2007 or eight.
Oh wow.
It used to be about $2.99 a month for it. Now it's up at like £9 for the magazine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read that every month, and I've been proactive about identifying individuals in that I want to look up, follow, get in touch with, and Dan was one of those guys. And when I first met him, I remember really connecting with him. He's a good bit younger than I am, but old soul, wise beyond his years,
Yes. Yeah,
phenomenal
definitely.
experience. And I liked his way of going about business and going about property investing. And Dan and I spoke on the phone a few times in and around the deals I was doing with his company about entrepreneurship and business in general. And I always remembered that from way back in 2014 and 15. And then the podcast came out. Whenever it came out, I started listening to it in the early 2020s. And through that, started to implement some things. And then thought, well, hang on, he's got this thing called the board. And I think, based on everything he's talking about, that's the right place for me, because I couldn't find another place where great people gathered in person to talk about property and entrepreneurship. And so it's those two things, those touch points, Your Property Network and the podcast, and Dan being a genuinely authentic, awesome person and entrepreneur, sharing great wisdom, messages, clear blueprints. I very much like the thought of someone showing me the path of what to do. I can't create that path very well myself with a blank piece of paper, but when
Sure.
I'm shown it, I can definitely execute. And so I've got the faith in myself to go and execute on something that I believe in. And so that's why there's a very clear resonance with the stuff he was saying I would go and do from the podcast. So I thought, yeah, spending time with this guy and the
Yeah.
people in the community, it will help accelerate my growth, mindset, everything. Can I ask you the same question?
Yeah, good question. um, so very similar to you actually, was got to the tail end of a previous mastermind that I was sort of outgrowing, or that Kay and I were outgrowing. It was more specific to SA, and we were expanding more to. We needed more business help, and we wanted to get involved with a group of people where they would level us up but still be face to face. So I was on a search for that peer group where we could be face to face in a mastermind format. And I came across Property Entrepreneur because my business partner, Graham Lindley, he advised me to come and check out Property Entrepreneur. And the minute I saw that they had the board, I literally badgered Adam almost every month about how I could get in. And we got in our second year of being with Property Entrepreneur. So we did our first year with them and then got into the board afterwards. But also, obviously, I wanted to be in that environment and with Dan Hill directly. But also, I wanted to be in the room with other people, because I feel like when we're in that room, it's like all of our knowledge and all of our support helping each other, whether that be for health, whether that be for wealth, or anything else to do with our lives that's going on at the moment. I feel like we help each other with everything, and we've got people at different stages of their lives and business that can always help each other. And that's why I joined.
I think it's referred to as the Pygmalion effect, isn't it? When you're around, when you level up your associations and you start to stretch thinking and act differently because of the company that you keep. That
Yeah, you
is,
become the 5 people that you surround yourself with, right?
yeah, or in our case, the 15.
The 12.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
um, that's clearly what we were both, and others like us were searching for and striving for, which is yeah what we value
Well,
massively. I'm a huge fan of masterminds, always have been.
yeah, no, 100%. And I think what it allows people to do is just, it doesn't stop you making mistakes, but it certainly allows you to accelerate your progress and get through the mistakes a lot better. Because once you've made that mistake, like we had a massive problem when we first joined the board, something that could have killed our business, but it was that help and support from the board initially and Dan that helped us get through it and do the right things to come out on top. And we're getting to a stage now where we're sort of coming out the other side a year down the line, which is good news.
Good to hear.
um, but yeah, so okay, cool, great. I'm looking forward to doing a second year with you, Sen. So we're starting again, doing our end of year stuff in September, and then we start again in October. So
Really looking forward to it.
strategy time, come again. Look back on our year. So yeah. So mentioned before, the carnivore entrepreneur, all about meat, muscles, mindset, and money, and the three pillars, which is body, mind, and bank account. What we do is go through each pillar, and I've got a couple questions for you on each area. I always start with the body because I do believe that's the foundation to true wealth.
Yeah.
And it always starts there. If you can't do the things that you want to do and act the way that you want to act and be the way that you want to be, then there's no point. And your body allows you to do that. So obviously running a property business and any entrepreneur, business is high pressure. How do you look after your energy and fitness so that you can perform at your best every day? What's your routine with your energy and fitness?
You very much kind of said it in that commitment to a word, routine. I'm a very rhythm routine based person. I don't find starting and keeping a routine difficult. I'm not looking for huge variety. When I've found something that I know is going to positively benefit me, then
Mm,
I will commit to making a habit and stick to it. And this, as I said, back from being at a young age, I've always held health and fitness as a high value. So it means that I've always eaten a well balanced diet. So I thank my parents, I guess, for starting that young. But as I got into like my teenage and university years and early career years, etc., yes, I would eat cake and drink alcohol, but on the whole, I'd have a very balanced diet, eat good food,
yeah.
good things, and I'd always do exercise. So it's just always been there. And then as I got to the point of, I used to get really frustrated when I was in the corporate world, which was for, that whatever it was, 8, 9 years, where I didn't feel like I could keep the routine I wanted because I was beholden to an employer's schedule
Yeah.
I didn't like. um, and so when I left the world of employment and started out completely in entrepreneurship on my own from Jan 2014, I was able to, from that point onwards, create my own entrepreneur's routine, which I loved. So that included having the time to cook a high protein breakfast and have eggs in the morning. That was
Yeah.
one of the key. I didn't have time to do that when I commuted. I'd have to scoff a bowl of cereal, run and catch a train, be away from like 7 until 7 every day, get home late, see the kids just as they're getting into the bath. Yeah, I didn't enjoy that. It was a real misalignment of schedule and values. But from being in that place of my own day, the key thing was having a morning routine, which included exercise and a high protein breakfast. And yeah, I think I became more aware of the water intake later
Yep.
on. So that started to be added in, and the number of steps, tracking that. Some of those things
Yeah.
came with being part of the property entrepreneur community. So I already had some good, I guess, reference points for maintaining good health, good diet. Um, I generally, I can't remember when I started it, but I wouldn't eat sugar during the week, so it's all fairly healthy food. plenty of water, and at the weekend would, yeah, if the kids are having biscuits and cakes and crisps, I would as well, but it was never excessive. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I've just always had a good set point. And then the last few years have invested in things like personal trainers and nutrition advice just to fine tune things. So it's weird. I'm probably in better shape in my 40s than I was in my 30s and 20s
I
because
know, right? Me
I,
too.
I wasn't educated enough and I wasn't putting it high enough on the agenda when I was working full time. Um,
Yeah.
it's almost like, yeah, I've pushed that higher up the values ladder, but it all comes down to routine, the rhythm of, yeah, what I do each weekday, weekend. Um, I've never been, I wouldn't say never, I wasn't great at the steps until I got conscious of it. I was probably
Yeah. Yeah.
walking to, because I was working from home. And so that's been the last, whatever, 3 years, I will always hit my average of 10,000 steps a day. Now
Yeah.
I'm pushing, before we go to Bali, for 12,000 on average per day. But that's water, minimum 2 liters, generally 2.5 to 3.
Hmm.
Right now, as part of this push before Bali, I'm focusing on getting an 8 hour sleep window, at least 5 times a week, because I have been, yeah, totally fine in having a 7 hour sleep window, but I just wanted to push it out and see if I could do an 8 hour window
Hmm.
to get a bit more out of that. So yeah, energy wise, that's the key thing. Good diet, exercise in the morning. I like to do it at the start of the day. I like that win rather than at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Steps, fresh air. I live in the countryside. I can walk around my own woods with the dog. It's wonderful. Drink enough water and get a decent amount of sleep. And I'm good to rock and roll for the day of entrepreneurship and fun and whatever is thrown at us.
Yeah. I think you mentioned something really important there, and I actually talk about it in my book, The Healthy Body. And it sounds like you've got a really good relationship with your health and your routines. And a lot of people think, they need to be 100% healthy, 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 healthy all the time. But it's not about that. It's about the majority of the time, 80% of the time, being, generally healthy,
Yeah,
eating the right things, getting your exercise in. But then you can have those little treats every now and
yeah,
again. So you
totally.
can experience, you know, a beer, a bit of cake, some luxuries that you wouldn't get when you're being healthy. And it's actually understanding that and allowing yourself to do that when it feels right in the moment, like at a birthday party you have a bit of cake, right? When you're out with some friends you have a couple beers, and it's knowing that you can allow yourself to do that and not ruin your health journey. And a
Yeah,
lot of people, that's where people fall off the wagon, because they're 100% for a couple months, and then they fall off the wagon because they have 2 or 3 days where they go on a bender or they just stuff themselves full of junk food.
yeah, completely. It's funny because when I never necessarily noticed this in myself, until we've openly talked about it a lot more in that property entrepreneur community. And because we are talking about it openly, there'll be the whole range of some who will openly confess to being on extremes. Either it's kind of all or nothing when it comes to the healthy food, healthy diet, or the alcohol and the
Mm,
bad diet. And it's like, wow, I've never really seen it that way or experienced it that way. I've just
no.
always liked to have a balance. I will partake in a little bit of processed and sugared foods here and there, especially if you're in somewhere like the States, somewhere you can't help it.
Yeah, right.
And I definitely will, I enjoy, I have a healthy relationship with alcohol. I enjoy alcohol in social environments. And, I've grown up in amongst, family and friends where it's a celebratory thing. And it's, yeah, always a fun environment rather than a negative or depressive environment. Of course, no one likes to overdo it and have a hangover. It can happen occasionally, um, but on the whole, it's a really positive complement to the healthy balance of food and water that I would have. So yeah, I think balance is key. That's the main thing, and
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't.
No.
Thankfully, I don't struggle too much with that.
No, it's good, and it feels like you naturally do that. But I was just pointing it out that actually you want to have a lifestyle and a healthy lifestyle that's sustainable
Yeah.
rather than extreme, and that's where people can go wrong sometimes. So just to wrap up the healthy body section, if you had to give just one simple tip to an entrepreneur who might be neglecting their body or feels like they're not where they want to be with their body, what would that one tip be to start with?
One simple tip. If I'm allowed to cheat a little bit and do
And
the
do
one
two, a
thing,
double barreled one.
the one thing being, I guess, three simple key mark. I'm imagining if someone's going from not really doing any exercise and having poor intake of food and
Yeah,
liquids, then I
yeah,
would be saying just get the three basic things nailed of your sleep window, your steps up to, go from 3,000 to 6,000 to 8,000, get up to 10,000 and get your
yeah,
2, 3 liters of water in a day and start with that and just get those things nailed and then move on to the next thing of getting whatever kind of health program baked in of whether it's cardio focused or whether it's resistance training focused, but take it, yeah, a little step at a time. And
yeah,
where possible,
absolutely.
try and have fun with it. So today I had an hour of tennis at lunchtime. I absolutely love it. So a Wednesday is like a tennis day. And so if it's doing something you enjoy as well, that's a great way to crank the steps up. Really like it.
Yeah, when the kids were here for summer, back with their mums now, but when they were here for summer, every day we would go out and play some basketball.
Yeah,
And I'd
love
go
that.
out and I'd be on a few thousand steps. By the time we finished playing basketball, I was on 10,000, you know. And yeah, it's just if you do something you enjoy, fitness wise, that can really help, and also with a community as well. If you can join some sort of community with it. But yeah, oh, great tip, fantastic. Get the basics right, and I think that's where everyone should start. Because I feel like everyone really does deep down know what they should do, but
Yeah,
needs someone to tell them. I think it's someone to tell them and to hold them to account. And I think
yeah.
that's what being part of a group is really good for, is because everyone holds each other to account, you know. Um, but yeah, cool. Thank you for that. So next, healthy mind. So property and entrepreneurship throw up constant challenges, and we never know sometimes what's going to be thrown at us. How do you stay mentally sharp? So obviously diet, exercise, and all that sort of stuff absolutely really helps with your mind. But do you have anything specifically aside from that you do to help keep your brain sharp?
I think the morning routine's been huge. So, someone who's had a massive influence on the perspective, I guess, I've taken and the mindset I've taken towards entrepreneurship has been Darren Hardy, who wrote the book Compound Effect. And
Yeah.
I read that back in 2009 as I was looking to shift the trajectory of my life from the corporate world towards entrepreneurship. And so really took on board a lot of those basic lessons of standing guard at the gate of your mind. I think, Darren Hardy got a lot of his wisdom from Jim Rohn, who you've referenced earlier. And so being careful what you put in was one of the key messages I took away. And then also selecting the what we feed our mind. And so I might be labeled as someone who's a bit of a personal development junkie in terms of what I consume, like what I read and what I listen to. But that has certainly been one of the biggest influences insofar as shaping how I'll frame situations from being challenging, negative. It's all about feedback and learning, and mistakes are a good thing. And from the setbacks, you're going to get a setup, and all this reframing that could have stopped me in my tracks as I was trying to transition out of the corporate world into entrepreneurship has all come from the reading and the listening to the old CDs and cassettes to then moving on to podcast stuff, because feeding my mind is a daily thing. It's now just complete habit. I don't tire of it. I know some might. They'll read a bit and they'll listen to stuff that, God, I need a rest. I want to read some fiction and what have you. I mean, I love movies, and so I'll kind of relax a lot with movies at the weekends with kids.
Yeah.
But I will consciously feed my mind with good stuff every weekday, and it's part of the morning routine. Um, the practices of planning my week, planning my year, my quarter, my month, my week, my day is a huge thing as well to prevent the sense of overwhelm that can then
Yeah.
lead to a lot of the challenges of the stress. When you talk about keeping your mind sharp, I see that as both a positive outlook and perspective and being solution oriented, but also being sharp, focused on what am I doing to move the needle on the things that are important. And that comes
Yeah.
with the thinking time and the decision making to actually commit and pick out here's my three priorities for the week rather than I've got a to-do list that's 20 things long and oh my god, that's overwhelming, where do I start? Because when I have been in those kind of environments without the awareness and knowledge of what to do to be more effective, it has made me not feel sharp and not feel focused on it. So there are two key things, I think, is the what I feed the mind and the conscious active proactive thought and planning to make decisions on what's most important.
It's really interesting, like the what you've just explained. It's actually making me realize how aligned you and I really are, because my two things that I sort of hang my hat on in terms of keeping my mind sharp are my daily routine of journaling, meditation, and 15 minutes of reading. Right. So I do that every day without fail, at least 5, 6 times a week. Right. So that happens every day. But then also feeding my weekly plan into my monthly plan, my monthly plan into my quarterly plan, my quarterly plan into my annual plan, and my annual plan into my long term goals. And that, like you said, prevents me from overwhelm. Like I've just been away for 2 weeks, and I made sure that on Sunday I planned my week of coming back, and I had so much stuff coming at me this week from catching up, but all I did was just keep referring back to my weekly
Yeah,
plan,
yeah,
and that prevented me from getting overwhelmed. Oh yeah, I've done that, and I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. Okay, well, what actually else is there to do? I know I've got a lot of stuff here, but what else is there to do this week that fits in to a life on my terms? The stuff that I've already planned to do. All the other stuff is just noise, right? And yeah, it's just really interesting the way that you explain that, because it's exactly what I believe in, is making sure that you stay aligned with what you want to achieve, and you have a regular routine with feeding your mind. And I think if you overcomplicate it, you end up in overwhelm,
yeah.
and that's not good for your mind, is it?
Yeah, we know which can happen to anybody, but then I guess we would have the awareness to sense that, see it, feel it, and bounce back to our set point, our standards again quite quickly. That's the key thing, and the value of having that kind of lifeline of this routine that keeps
Yeah,
us, on a sustainable trajectory for the long term. Because it's an infinite game, isn't it? That's actually the theme of my year. It's about staying
yes.
in the game rather than winning the proverbial game. There is no
That's what
winning. There's
Simon
just,
Sinek says.
yeah, there's just getting better, and there's staying in the game. And yeah, I think it's a really nice, whatever you want to call it, metaphor or message to go by and remind us that. 'Cause I definitely, when I was younger, me thought that it is a finite game about the winning and crossing the
Yes.
line, but I see it very differently now.
Yeah, I know. And if I go back even 5 years, probably I'm looking at that next thing that I want. Whereas now it's just about staying in. With all the problems that we had, the goal was to stay in the game and not lose our business,
Yeah.
And now that we've learned that, it just going to give us a much more longer term trajectory. So interestingly, off the back of that, I've got another question for you, which is,
Yeah.
how do you structure your day so that you perform at your best throughout the day
So let's see if I link
when you're
back.
working? That is when you're working.
Yes. So we link back to obviously the start of the day. we covered the health stuff. That's the key thing that tees things up. Where it goes from there is obviously I've had a nice breakfast with my wife. I've walked the boys down the road to get the bus for school and got myself showered up, and I'm at the desk. The most important thing I do is do not look at that.
Everyone does. When they
Uh,
wake up in the morning, straight away, it's in their face. I don't get
yeah,
it.
I'm very disciplined, so I'll take it to the gym with me and I'll use my app for my workout and I'll listen to a podcast, but
Yeah,
I don't want to see an email or anything that's inbound like that. And that again comes back to the influence of Darren Hardy back in 2012, 13, 14, baking into my head. And that was before they were like super smartphones, that we have to start the day on our own agenda. So I'll write out my diary. I use the best self journal. So I'll have
nice.
the actions for the day, and the first 90 minutes. So I'm at the desk. I do a little routine of I'll watch the Darren Daily Message. I'll read my Daily Dad book entry, which is awesome. Ryan Holiday, and I'll do a very short, deep breathing, focus meditation. It's like a 1 minute meditation I listen to every day. And then I get into my most valuable project and I'll set my timer.
Excellent.
I will literally get this on for 90 minutes and it's what I plan to do the night before. It's in the diary. I don't need to break my focus by deciding what to do and second guess myself. I've already decided and committed. So I'm working on the thing for 90 minutes. And I've done that consistently since when I was at my desk from 2014. And that's really been the biggest thing to get the best out of the day. And this whole time, I'm not responding to text messages, WhatsApps, or email. And so notifications are switched. I'm not getting pings and dings. I don't have WhatsApp on my desktop. I don't have the loud any dings from a Facebook or an email. It's just focus on creating this spreadsheet to analyze a property deal, creating a presentation I'm going to do for something related to our mastermind group. It's creating. And then at 11 o'clock, then I can let the world in. I will have
Nice.
like Zoom meetings with a PA once a week, team meeting with the SA team, 11 o'clock, everything. It's 11 o'clock onwards. And then break for lunch, 12:30 for a solid hour, get some fresh air, walk the dog, high protein lunch, catch up with my wife. Then it's back to the desk for the afternoon. There might be 2, 3 little sprints on email during the day, but mostly then it's back to another focus session of deep work or valuable meetings before closing off, depending on what's happening with kids' sport. Anytime, generally, I'll work the full day up to kind of 5:30ish, and I'm generally doing about 35 hours a week on average. It could be a little bit less, a little bit more, but it's generally nicely balanced days of whatever that is, 6.5 hours a day, that kind of thing. But it's that routine again that
Yeah.
helps keep the focus, the balance, the sharpness. Yeah, simple as that. Really, it's not
Yeah.
rocket science.
Mate, that's great. And you know, with a few differences, it's exactly what I do. And in my book, which is really interesting, is what you've explained. Some people might confuse that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but some people might confuse that with time management. But actually, what you're doing is energy management. You're giving your most important
Yes.
tasks the
Yeah.
best of your energy, and
Yes.
that's what an entrepreneur can do better than time management, is actually manage their energy in blocks. So do your first 90 minutes of the most important work that you possibly can, because that's when you're going to have your best energy. Then give your next best energy to people, right? That you want to let in. And then when you've got your things that you want to tick off, your admin stuff, that'll be the stuff that you do at the end of the day that's just repetitive, that you can do with a low
Yeah.
amount of energy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Really good point. Bringing back around to the energy piece, because we only wake up with so much willpower and
Tokens.
deep focus and ability to eat frogs, and so just like the book says, we eat the frog first. We do the chunky bit of work that's going to take thinking power and crafting, creating. Do that first. Because if we put it to the end, the likelihood is something else is going to get in the way. It'll curb the time you can spend on it. You're not going to feel like doing it. Yeah, all those things. So yeah, completely spot on with what you said.
Love it. Love it. So routines, plan your days, your weeks, your months, so that you don't get overwhelmed, and manage your energy right, and it'll fuel your mind. I truly believe that. So great
And don't
stuff.
let
Thank you
this
for that.
thing in.
Yes. Yeah, because that takes your energy. It takes that dopamine. You only have a certain amount of dopamine throughout the day, and you want to use that dopamine for stuff that's going to be productive for you. Reward yourself at the end of the day with a bit of social media if that's what your thing is. I do. I hold my hands up. Like, at the end of the day, when I've done my bits, I quite like getting my TikTok out for half an hour and flicking through and seeing a load of motivational videos, because that's what it just gives me on my TikTok. But yeah, I save that for the end of the day as like a reward,
Yeah.
to say I've done everything that I need to do.
If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You are a carnivore entrepreneur. Live life how it was supposed to be lived, on your terms, with strength, energy, and purpose. I'll see you on the next episode.